Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the workshop Leaders of Tomorrow. I am so happy that you're here. Thank you for making the time, showing your interest. And the plan is that we have fun together, that we explore what would be the profile, the values, the inner motivation of the leader of tomorrow that is not tomorrow. We need them today. We need us today. So we are just using and playing with words. The leader of tomorrow thinking of that we need a new role model. We need to do it differently, not repeating the past patterns, but building a new role model. That's why we are using the word tomorrow. But as we go, we will see that we don't have time to wait. We need us today. I will share my screen. I prepared some slides. Patricia will help me with the chat. Patricia Capelletti, she is from Seeds for Sustainability. I will speak a little bit about us in the presentation, and she will support me on the chat, because as I speak, I will not pay attention on the chat. So I would prefer, you could write on the chat so that we can incorporate the conversation that happens in the chat, we incorporate in the main conversation. And so that you know, the plan is that you participate, that we have some interaction. So I would love, if you don't feel comfortable to open your video, that's okay. But I would love that when you want to share something, that you open your mic and speak instead of writing. You can write, but then I will invite you to the conversation at some point. Okay, so that's the plan. And I ask you to mute your mics. I think all are muted at this point so that we don't have influence of background sounds. And I will share my screen. And put it on presentation, right? Can you see the slides? Perfect, thank you. So as I started sharing, Leaders of Tomorrow is just a catchy title, but we are going to talk about leaders of today. And we are gonna look at nature systems and talk about them to teach us how to lead, because we developed our human style of leading that is not working that well. So we can have different styles of leading, but there is just one way to go: leading inspired and in harmony with nature. So here you have a picture of two ways going different paths, and we can go that way because we are all different, and viva la différence. And that's why it's so important that we are all so different, but it's so important that we also recognize our humanity, that we are all the same. We are part of one. And this one is nature. So that's our starting point. I will start sharing an extract from Otto Scharmer's book, Leading from the Future, that for me, it is very inspiring. I will need to, okay, to move my screen here. And he says, we live in a time of massive institutional failure, collectively creating results that nobody wants. Climate change, AIDS, hunger, poverty, violence, terrorism, pandemics, destruction of communities, nature, life, the foundations of our social, economic, ecological, and spiritual well-being. This time calls for us for a new consciousness and a new collective leadership capacity to meet challenges in a more conscious, intentional, and strategic way. That speaks about that we collectively, we cannot change the systems where we are included in if we don't work collectively to build that leadership capacity to meet the changes, the challenges, I mean. And we need to find a strategic way to do that, because we human beings, we will see it later on, we imitate, we see a new way of doing, we observe. If it's working, then we copy. But we are not planning strategically. And that's where we are getting into the trap. Before we jump on the theme, just introducing myself. My name is Telma Gomes. I am Brazilian and living in Portugal for 1 year in Porto, and lived for 9 years in Sweden, where I did a master's program on strategic leadership towards sustainability. And Seeds for Sustainability is an organization that is designed to build bridges. We believe that transformation comes from that awareness, and from that awareness, engagement, because awareness is not enough. From awareness, from consciousness, then we need to move to engagement. And we work in 4 pillars: sports, women and girls empowerment, circularity, leadership for transformation. And this workshop is part of our leadership for transformation pillar. So here you have the link of our website, seedsforsustainability.com. And I am the co-founder of Seeds, surrounded by another 5 amazing women. Patricia Capelletti is here with us here, also in Portugal for a while, moving to England. Anna Celsin in Sweden, Katarina in Brazil, Jenny in Finland, and Dallin in Switzerland. So we started being global, and that is what we aim to do, to bring our inner motivation, our leadership in service to something that is greater than us. That is what moves the Seeds girls. So let's take Bill O'Brien's saying for us to frame where we are going, where we are heading with the workshop tonight. The success of the intervention depends on the inner condition of the intervener. There is no way for us to do the change that we want to see in the world if we don't come with that inner motivation, if we don't come from that place that we want, we know, and we will bring the best of us to the actions that we will take in the world. Bill in fact, Otto says about this Beals O'Brien sentence. Otto says that there is no way for us to change the systems where we live in if we don't act on the quality of the inner being, of the inner consciousness of the intervener. So that is where we are touching today, so that when we are using the U model from ULab. Those who don't know it, I highly encourage you to go and check. There is a huge global community around the ULab, and I will borrow the U model just to guide us in this diving that we are going to do tonight. So we really need to start envisioning collectively the future we want to create. Otherwise, we will be in that old fashion model that we collectively are creating what we don't want. And that vision needs to be regenerative, diverse, bringing the diversity that we are, human species, and all the living beings in the planet, because we need all of us, all of it. Nature is made of diversity, and we need to start looking, thinking, appreciating, welcoming the diversity that exists in us from the perspective of race, gender, age, beliefs, religion. When we come from that place, when we appreciate the diversity, then we start seeing the world as abundant. Then we can leave behind the scarcity paradigm that we live, thinking that for us to have, there is not enough for everybody. And for one to have, it needs to come from another one, another place. And we need to create this vision inclusive, because when we bring the diversity that we are and see the world with the abundance that there is, and we take care of everyone, everything, leaving no one behind, then and only then we can live in harmony with nature and with ourselves. And we will start backcasting from the future. Companies, they forecast, looking from the past, success and errors, and trying to project what is going to happen in the future. But this forecasting mode does not support us going beyond our imagination. By forecasting, we are limited. When we backcast from that future, when we come from our imagination of the future we want, with no restrictions, just imagining, dreaming, creating, we are not limited. And then we can change the possible that has the potential and not be limited to the probable that is what is most likely. Because when we come from the past patterns and past experiences, we limit ourselves what is most probable. And then we leave the impossible to turn possible. So now I want to share my vision for tonight. And I want to invite you also not to share your vision for tonight, because only me knows the plan. But I want you to share your vision for your life and our life in this planet Earth. My vision for tonight is that we leave this workshop understanding at a deeper level what is happening to us, around us. What are the impacts that we are doing? And what is our power of creation and our responsibility to do something? Because only us, nobody else. There is no outspace, how do you call that? Outspace, espaçonave, coming from outside. Patricia?
Rocket.
Rocket, yes, the rocket. Coming with ETs to save us. It's on our responsibility. And we have the power. So I want my vision for the end of this workshop is that we really live tonight not only thinking about climate change, loss of diversity, all these words that is really happening, that they are happening, but I expect us to feel in our body, in our soul, in our minds, in our systems, how we can influence to change this. That is my big vision for tonight. And for that to happen, I'm offering you my talents, my virtues, my skill, my communication skill. I recognize that I have a good communication skill. I'm a connector. I love to connect with people. So I'm bringing all I am, all my talents in service for us to live tonight richer. And I hope that you also give me a gift of offering your talents, your gifts, your visions for us to live this workshop richer. So I want to invite you to open your mics and just share, and for us to be able to bring more voices to the room. I ask you to speak with intention for us, and try to be concise, not too much, but also giving space to others, being conscious that we are together here and conscious of the time. Okay? And if you don't feel comfortable to speak in English, speak in Portuguese. I will stop sharing because I want to see. And if we don't have volunteers, I will invite some names.
So shall we share our vision for today or for life?
For life. Okay. Yes.
I can
but
go.
if you want to, for today also, it's welcome.
My vision of success for today is to connect with people, to support this section to be pleasurable and bring awareness to the people who are here. And for my life, my vision of success is to support people to connect with nature, to regenerate this connection, and by reconcile their inner world and the outer world by using life principles, especially biomimicry and regenerative frameworks. That's me.
Beautiful. Thanks, Patricia. You raised the bar. Your vision was so beautiful. So feel free to be very humane, down to earth, because your vision was really inspiring, Patricia, I would say.
And to be happy.
Yay! Yes. Ron, can I invite you?
Of course, of course. Well, I understood your introduction. It was very well communicated. And I would like to add that my vision for life is to leave the world in a more positive state than I found it when I entered. Positive means positive change, positive impact, and I think the core value of that is a human value. It's taking care of what's around, the people around you, what is around you, and taking care of that. I think it gives human. It's a social trait for humans. They get a lot of positivity out of taking care of someone, taking care of a value, or taking care of their environment. So it gives a lot of positive feedback, a lot of pleasure, and I think that would be the word that I would choose: taking care in a positive way. Whether it's nature, people, values, everything that you hold important.
Beautiful, Ron. One thing that you said in the beginning just reminded me something that really changed my behavior. I once in Sweden, and Patricia knows this place, Monte Kula, is kind of eco hotel, and in the wall of the bathroom, it was written, "Leave this place better than when you entered." It was a bathroom, but it was so impactful for me that I adopted that as my way of going into the world, and including the bathrooms, because I cannot go to a bathroom without thinking. Yes, it starts with the bathroom, but it is with that intention and that consciousness that we influence the environment where we are at. And when we enter that, and we enter with the intention of making it better than when we enter, then there is no way of us leaving that space without leaving a positive impact.
Exactly, yeah. Very well put.
Who else? One more. Should I invite? Can I invite Margarida? You have the right to say no. Okay, Beatriz, Melissa. You can share in Portuguese if you don't feel, or Sara, if you don't feel comfortable to speak in English.
I just came here like 5 minutes ago, but the question is, what is my vision of the future?
Yes, Beatriz.
That's a complicated question, actually.
Just start speaking, it will come. Don't think.
Ugh, like my vision in personal, in the personal space, it's like to be happy, of course, and doing the things that I love, and trying to do my work, and trying to have my family and friends okay, doing the thing that I love the most, that is traveling. In a sustainable way, and with my work, I'm a physiotherapist, so I want to start a clinic, and I already plan it, but with just environmental friend stuff, and like just windows, so we can enjoy the sunlight instead of lights and stuff like that. So it's more or less like, that's my vision, I think.
Beautiful, Beatrice. Beautiful. And expanding that vision from your work, that is so important, because when we work with our hands, we have the energy that we emanate from our hands. When we touch another person, we really need to take care of that energy.
Yeah.
The intention, the intention, and how, because we are all healers, even the ones who don't think that are healers. And your job, your work in the world is so important, and knowing that you're coming from that place of awareness, it's so beautiful.
Thank you. And you are totally right when you said that we are all healers. That's so true. And some people don't even think that they have a role in other people's life. And there is a thing that we, as a physiotherapist, there are so many diseases that are related to the environmental and to the climate changes. So it's really important that people starting to understand that and start to make a change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, Beatrice.
Welcome.
And Ron and Patricia. So let's move on. More to come. I want to hear more contributions, okay? Share screen again. Here. Can you see my screen? Yes, good. Okay, so now that we went to the future and we dreamed of that future, we imagined that future, then what we need to do collectively, again, on an individual level, but never forgetting the collective, aligning the collective intentions, coming to the present, and then designing our way towards that future that we imagined and desired collectively. And then we move step by step towards that vision. And from the future we want, we observe past patterns which brought us to the present. So let's take a look on our past patterns for us to start diving deep on the you. Taking a historical perspective and understanding our influence in the planet, in the timeline. Planet Earth is here, evidences shows that, the most accepted evidences shows that we are here, not we, but the planet Earth is here for 4.5 billion years. And it was being formed little by little. The oxygen, the water, the plants kingdom, the animal kingdom. And then the most accepted theory is that we, human beings, descend from primates. And 5 million years ago, there are evidence that they had a very huge climate change at that point that made the canopy of the trees decrease in size, and the big primates could not stay on the canopies anymore, and they needed to go to the ground. And that movement made the primates become bipedal and develop the heels so that they could sustain into legs. And that is where we, the human species, started deriving and evolving. Let me move my screen here to the corner. And Homo sapiens, as we know ourselves as today, with the front cortex developed, we are around only 2,000 years. So look, planet Earth, 4.5 billion years, and human beings, as we know it, are around here 2,000 years. But at that point, we were so little that we had no influence in the nature. We became hunters and gatherers, and human beings understood that we needed to live together, to work together, to be together, to have a chance to live in the savannas, to perpetuate our species. Otherwise, we would be extinct by big animals. And at that point, we understood that, and we started living in bandos. And we developed the language. We needed that. And the most rude level of language we developed is pointing. We needed to point to show the threat of animals coming. And we started doing sounds. And then we, little by little, started developing the language for us to, and became social beings in the format that we know today. And here I just put the feminine divinity to remind us that in the very beginning, the feminine was sacred. Everything that came from nature that we considered sacred was considered the feminine power, because it's giving birth, it's giving life. Everything about sacredness was feminine. But as we go, we will see that things changed a little bit, or not only a little bit, but too much. 8,000 years ago, we human beings, we started developing, started domesticating animals. We understood that instead of being running away from the animals and trying to hunter them, it would be easier just to create spaces where we could domesticate small animals. And that was the beginning of agriculture and farming. Humans started to dominate the species and interfere in nature, planting and developing tools to do more and more farming and agriculture. And that was the beginning of our interference, but at that point we again was too little and we were not able to influence the nature rhythms. Another big change happened 5,000 years ago with the introduction of writing. Leonard Schlein has a book, in his book, The Alphabet versus the Goddess, and I highly recommend that book. He defends the thesis that when we introduced writing in society, we changed the way we think. Because as 99% of people are right-hand writers, and at that point, for many years, people or parents would even force children that wrote with left-hand writing to become right-hand writing. You know that our brain are two hemispheres, and we operate in opposite. So if you stimulate your right side, you're using your left hemisphere. That is more focused on logic, numbers, building stuff, and more into the logic thinking. And our right hemisphere is more towards emotions, feelings, arts, the aesthetic patterns. The beauty is more into the right hemisphere. And there are theories that associate the right hemisphere to more feminine and the left hemisphere to more masculine. So in Leonard Schlehn's book, he defends the thesis that at this point, the world became more masculine because we were more stimulating the left-hand side of our brains, and the feminine and women became secondary because we are not using and stimulating that much our right hemisphere. And then 220 years ago, then the clock started ticking more faster, is that when we had the Industrial Revolution. And we developed a lot of technology, and factories started in England and then spread in the whole world. And we became even more mechanists, building things and using hands and producing stuff. And if you look at the chart here below, you see the word population milestones in billions. And exactly at this point with the Industrial Revolution, we achieved our first 1 billion in population in the world. But yet we were not so many. We started influencing and making some changes, but we were not that many. But then look what happens with the years to come and the speed of increasing population. We took 123 years to achieve this 2 billion, 32 years to the 3rd billion, 15 years to the 4th billion in 74, 13 years to the 5th, 12 in 2011. In fact, it was 2014, we achieved the 7th billion and expected to achieve the 10th billion in 2040. So if you see the time span of population increasing population, with the technology that we started developing, especially after the First and the Second World War, we really start influencing the nature cycles in a way that we have never done before. And Yuval Harari, in his book *Sapiens*, he also speaks a lot about this. 60 years with the technological revolutions. With the World War, we developed communications, and the computer soon started appearing, at a level of industries, and then at the society level, when only 30 years ago, I bet many people here in this workshop are born after internet and social media, maybe the most young people, the youngest people here. So what we have done, we have increased technology, we have used our skills, our creativity to create a world that we thought that was serving us as a society, and we didn't know what we were doing with nature. But now, with the technology and information that we have from the last 60 years, we know better. Now we know what we are doing. And now it's time for us to ask what future we want to create together. So going down on the U, now that we knew our past patterns and understood how we got here to this point, doing what we have done, not knowing the side effects of what we were doing, let's see with fresh eyes. See ourselves. I love the metaphor. I love to see ourselves as 7.5 billion babies messing around with no parents saying, don't do this, don't do that. So we're going around and putting our fingers on the sockets because we are on the dawn of humanity. We are just 200,000 years here. And for the last 60 years, we are really messing and impacting the nature in scale that we have never seen before. But I keep moving this small screen. But we are also the cutting edge of knowledge and technology. So we need to live with that duality, understanding how immature we are as a species, but also how powerful we are from the place that, from all the knowledge accumulated and all the technology that we developed. And now it's a question, can we use that in service of us and all living species in the planet? I will just take a look at the time. I will now move a little bit further and then invite you again. I want to hear your thoughts from what we have been sharing so far. So from that place of not knowing and now knowing, we need to start thinking more holistically and then integrate again our left and right hemisphere, our head, our hearts, our hands, integrate them and start redesigning the human impact in the planet, and leaving behind that linear economy and linear thinking of the take, make, and waste. Because in the beginning we did that with the farming, with the agriculture, later with the Industrial Revolution. We were just extracting natural resources and transforming it and disposing in the end. And that we already know that does not serve us anymore. What we need to do is to dematerialize, use less materials, do things smaller and use less and less raw materials. Substitute materials that are scarce in nature to those who are more abundant. Make our thinking and our production circular and mimic nature. Because in nature, there is no waste. Everything in the end of life is a resource for another cycle of nature. So when we are talking about let's go circular, let's recycle, let's just stop at this point and think deeper, because we have been repeating that for the last maybe 30 or 20 years about recycling, reusing. And that took us to keep consuming at the level that we have always consumed. And just thinking that, okay, if I recycle that in the end, if somebody recycles that in the end, everything's all good. Everything is settled. So we don't need to care about this anymore. But we need to live in this circular human sphere, that valuing the technosphere as we are doing, but in a way, because we are using technology only for the sake of technology. How can we use technology to serve, to regenerate the biosphere? Can we do that? Yes, we can. And only by using technology, we will be able to do that. We know that already. We needed to get to this point to understand and have tools that give us that mirror effect, that we can see around what are the side effects of our human behavior. So if we think about entrepreneurship, startups, creating companies, businesses, can we think about reversing design? When we create a product, instead of creating the product, think about disassembling that product and seeing how that product will be disassembled, reused, and put in the production cycle in a way that we don't use more resource from nature. And the reverse logistics. Logistics are very linear yet. So as an entrepreneur, think the way we can create businesses that will make that linear economy circular by circular distribution. Thinking about service, not products. We need the light, not the lamp. Do we really need to buy lamps? Can we buy a service that gives us light? We need mobility, not cars. Can we buy a service for mobility instead of buying cars? Cradle to cradle is a proposition to do that circular economy. So I will move a little bit further and then invite you to share your thoughts. Now that we saw with fresh eyes, that we saw the possibilities and the tools that we have in our hands already at our disposal, just changing the mindset, we can see opportunities in places where we today see problems. All the waste that we are generating, that we don't have a chance to throw out of the space. How can we use all these as resources? And all the skills that we got, that we developed with technology as services to regenerate the biosphere. And the sensing from the field. Now we go to understand better in what macro ways we are impacting the nature on a systematic basis. In what ways we have been systematically impacting nature. This word systematically is really important. It's what makes the difference. Because what we do for the good or for the bad, systematically, will impact us positively or negatively. And that is the trap that human race is in. We are doing things collectively, systematically, at a global scale that nature cannot cope with. The first thing is by extracting materials which are either scarce in nature or not supposed to be in the atmosphere. We are extracting materials, minerals, gas, petroleum from the earth crust and is spreading it into the atmosphere. And those materials, they are scarce in nature and they are not supposed to be in the atmosphere. And that is what is impacting our climate. By contaminating our soil, air, and water with chemicals that are foreign to nature, we are contaminating our soils, our rivers, the water that we drink, the animals drink, the air that we breathe, the soil from where we take our food, and we are contaminating ourselves. So that is what we are doing systematically and collectively at a rate that nature cannot cope with. By degrading nature by physical means. Here we have a picture of canalizing rivers. We are killing our riparian forests. We are putting asphalts over rivers. We are putting cement all over the places and erasing nature. We are pushing animals out of our space, leaving them on a very small corner where nature still can breathe. So that is what we are doing systematically. And what we need to do is let go of the old patterns and mimic nature in its essence. So by putting a no in front of all these practices, and instead developing with technology ways in ways that nature does, just observing nature, erasing waste, making all the disposal become resources, and decelerating the consumerism, and taking care of our health, the quality of our food, what we are putting in our plate, and trying to incorporate nature again into the big centers, into cities, creating urban gardens. There are so much new ideas popping up, and this is the way to go and to co-create for us to let come what is asking to be given birth. At this point, I want to invite you again to share your thoughts. I want to hear where you are. With all the things that I've been sharing so far, where are you in terms of what we can do together to reverse the way we did so far? Do we have the power? Do we have the tools? Do we have the will? So you can go, I don't want to frame too much. I really want to invite you to share what are your thoughts at this point.
I think that some people have the will and
So low, can you, your sound is low, Beatrice.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yes, much better.
Is it okay?
Now
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. I think some people have the will of changing things, but it's very difficult and to change it just by yourself. And other people that think that, like that don't do it anything. So, like for example, in the beginning of this year, I started to I make like a compromise, yeah.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't use water bottles from plastic. So every time I went to a restaurant, I asked if it's a glass or a plastic bottle. And when I go with my parents, they just start laughing and just like, if you're just one person to do that, like it's the same that you don't do anything. And I'm like my father. If I think that way, I won't do anything, and no one will. So yeah, some people just think they don't have the power to do it, so and then they don't do anything.
That's great, your example, Beatrice. I just wanted to mention that never doubt of the influence that one single person has. In that restaurant or in those restaurants where you enter and ask, is that plastic or glass bottle? The waiter will talk to the owner or the manager, whatever, and say, they're asking for glass bottles. And the ones who make the purchases will say, we need to start buying glass bottles because our customers are asking. Only if it's one, it's enough already to put something.
Yeah.
I once heard, okay, thank you so much. I want to hear more. I don't want to be speaking.
Telma, can I talk?
Yes.
Just a few moments. Because of what Beatrice said, I think we are some few. We are not a lot of people. But what I think is the new generation, the next generation, these new youth that we have is making change for our world today. And I think this is what we have to do in all cases, in all generations. Everyone have to do something and everyone have to act now.
Yes, perfect. And really be conscious of your power. Never let anybody make you believe that you don't have the power of influence. Because we do. We influence all the time, for the good and for the bad. And that is what makes the difference. Margarida wrote, sorry, I cannot connect my camera or audio. Okay, but I'm following you. That's okay, Margarida. Who else?
Telma, may I talk?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I think it's such a complex question that you present, and it's one that we're against the clock. We're running out of time, and we need action for many years. It's been everything you said is touches. It's very touching what the situation you presented in the 4 or 5 slides. The picture that you painted is real. and we're left where we have a big challenge in front of us, and time is against us. I think that's clear, right? So given that we're coming up to 8 billion people, it's just feels to me such a complex, I wouldn't say insurmountable matter, but and I agree with you that local change, local habits, local changes make all the difference, and that's been proven. But then on the other hand, we're 8 billion, and how do you get 8 billion to change? Through technology and through communication. And here we are, probably all of us using technology at this moment to connect through a mobile phone or a tablet. In my case, I'm using both, one to receive the signal and a tablet to connect. But these devices are all using all of the elements of the periodic table. They're all using extracted from Earth. Our ability to communicate and to transmit these messages to everybody. So I'm left with mixed feelings, to be honest. And I've come from a generation that has been talking about climate change since I was in primary school, and I'm now in my 40s, and it's the same. And at that time it was CFCs and the ozone layer, and now it's the same subjects. But even more dramatic. But I do agree that local change is how it should move forward, and looking after nature has all the responses, has all the knowledge. As you said, it survived 4.5 billion years on its own through dramatic cycles and changes and transformations. It has the answers, and if we can connect back to nature, understand nature, the cycles, continued cycles, as you correctly put, is the way forward. So at this moment,
I want to challenge, if you allow me, I want to challenge one belief that only you have, but we all carry that belief, and that creates anxiety in us, that we are too many in the planet. Who told us that? We are 8 billion. And the planet is really big. The problem is that we are concentrating too much. And the problem is that not the quantity, but the quality of the way we are living. I resist to go to that place when I hear on the television saying, when we are 10 billion, we cannot feed everybody. Who on earth told that? Nature is abundant. If we let nature do its cycles as it is supposed to be, we have food for everybody. We have water for everybody. We have everything for everybody. So I think that we need to, at this point, because of communication, we keep repeating, and we are privileged because Planetiers already understood the message, but we human beings are still lost in what we are doing, not understanding quite well the side effects of what we are doing. But it takes, I don't have an image of that, but the curve of change, it takes just to feel the early adopters to create momentum. And then when it creates momentum, nobody can stop the change. It happened all the time with technology. So when it gets to that point, there's no way to go back. It goes downstream, and then it becomes mainstream. And then there is I forgot the name. the curves that does like this, and then when you get that to that point, then you have another change coming, because change never stops as well. The only thing that don't change is that change happens all the time. And then we go to that next level. And then the laggards, the lazy laggards that keep resisting and denying, they are just, they go with the flow. So we need only to create this critical mass, and we are doing that. I need to mention one thing. I was in the as I mentioned to you in the beginning, I live in Portugal, and I traveled to Lisbon to be part of the conference here. And I took an Uber. And the driver, I mentioned, I'm going to Lisbon to an event, big event that is happening in Lisbon, despite of the pandemics and blah, blah, blah. And he said, can I ask you, what is this event about? And I said, sustainability. He said, oh, so that is really important. That is what we really need to be discussing. And he didn't pay attention because I mentioned the name of Planetiers. And then he said, I have a very good friend of mine from Guimarães that made this Planetiers shows on TV. You know that we had some sessions, episodes on being streamed on TV, TVI24. And he was talking about what he saw on the TV and how important it is. And then he started talking about the electrical cars. And I told him, because when I took the Uber, I had two options. One was electric e-car, and the other one was a common car. And then I took the e-car. And I told him, I chose your car because it was an e-car. And he said, yes. And in 2027, all cars will be electrical. And he was talking with such a familiarity, so really concerned. So that gave me so much hope. And I think that we are in that critical moment where we are building critical mass around this. We just need to go a little bit deeper. That was my intention with the workshop, that we don't stop on the climate change buzzwords without not understanding on a deeper level what we are doing. Anybody else?
I just want to tell something to Ron that he discussed about it was a little bit in doubt because of the technologies and that are made from some materials that we extract from Earth. But there are some initiatives, some enterprises like For All Phones and stuff like that that sells phones that they are not totally new. They were supposed to go to the garbage, so they will sell it a cheapest phone. And they also, like the For All Phones, do some campaigns with their workers to clean the beaches and stuff like that. So don't lose hope, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. You want to compliment?
Yeah. No, I appreciate the feedback. And I'm an optimist, and I think change is for everybody to take on board. And I agree about the movement of mass. The critical mass is moving in the right direction, and sure. And there are solutions. There are solutions for everything. Yeah. And humans have shown that throughout the 200,000 years. Modern human, sure.
Yeah. And really choosing to pay attention to those things that give us hope, because it's easy to look around and just feel anxious and depressed. There is even in psychology, one line of studies talking about eco depression. People that are realizing and where we are and feel that and take that depression of we need to do something and we are not doing, and go under depression, and even committing suicide. I have a personal case. A person that was dedicating his life to regeneration, and at some point he couldn't take, and he took his life. So we really need to be conscious of that and be in a place where we don't pay too much attention of the challenges and put more attention to the opportunities and the possibilities, so that we don't get trapped on that place. Because many, like Beatrice's father said, you're just one. You want to change the world. So you don't see that potential, you don't connect with that power, and you just sit and wait. Yes, we are creating something that we don't like, but they need to do something. And there is no they, it's just we. Yes, but now we are going to the hope phases. Anybody wants to share something before we go? Yes.
Can I say something, but it's not hopeful?
You still have time. Then we move to the hope part.
No, but I'm hoping that you give me some hope, actually. Because, like, for example, in Portugal, you recycle everything. And when you want to buy something that is made of recycled stuff or biological stuff, everything is more expensive. And that doesn't make any sense. And that's very frustrating, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can give me some hope on that point, I will be very appreciated.
Yeah, I think that it was worse in the past.
Yeah.
Where the price was really the big difference. And now it's more of a feeling of more expensive than really more expensive. And I think that we also being trained, only starting in the very beginning, but we are training ourselves to think, to be system thinker and understand the impact. Like people that are making investments to put solar panels in their houses, they make an investment. They spend money, and then they understand that in 10 years' time, they will pay for that investment and will be paying less for the energy they take. And some do that only for the mathematics, but many do that because they think it's right. And we see that more and more. And it's all about scale. And the more of us that adopt the right, then we create scale, then the price decrease. And then it will come the time, because being sustainable is more cost efficient. It will come the time that being sustainable is cheaper than being not sustainable. And that is what the companies are already understanding, that they will not have a future with their business unless they start having sustainable practices.
You did a good job.
Yay! Okay, let's go back to the slides. Now we are coming to the bottom of the U, connecting to the source. Oops, let's put here. Connecting to the source, connecting to our inner world in order to change our outer world. And in that point, there is only one thing, love. That inner point that sustains life, that make things have a meaning, that give us happiness, is love. We don't care of what we don't love. And that is the inner condition of the intervener that make the impact on the intervention that we mentioned in the beginning. So when we connect to our inner love, accepting, loving ourselves, and that is so powerful. We have been repeating about self-love like ordinary word, but we have been trained not to accept ourselves. We have been trained since we are babies to expect more of ourselves and of others. Never satisfied, never enough. And we started trading with love. But we need to go one step deeper and connect to that energy, emotion that produces the hormones that make us feel love in our bodies. Feel love when you look at the mirror and see your face. Feel love when you look at somebody else and say, I love you. I love you just because you exist. You don't need to do anything for me to love you. And then healing, taking care of the health of ourselves, our emotions, our body, our thoughts, and the planet health. When we use love, when we take care of our health and all the system's health with love, we are in service. And when we are in service for something that is greater than us, then we are able to leave a legacy in this planet. Then our life and our actions has a footprint that stays here, that lasts more than our lifetimes, that influence the destiny of humanity and the planet. So when we are in that place of connecting the source, then letting go what we just spoke about, this is past. We have lessons to learn. And we take those lessons and let it come, because the let come will only come when we let go. So that is why it's so important for us to put our attention, intention, and actions in this place of love, health, and living in service. And by doing that, we are able to leave our legacy. Anybody wants to make any comment on this bottom of the U before we start going up? Is there anything else you would add to this bottom of the U that you feel that is important for you? Okay, so let's move on. Then, coming from that place with that we know that we saw our past patterns and we saw with fresh eyes, sensing the field, what is happening around us, how we are doing, how we are impacting the nature and ourselves, because everything we are doing to nature, to other species, we are also doing to ourselves. We are treating ourselves the same way we are treating nature. And we won't have time to go more deep or deeper into the social side of our impact in the world that is creating so much anxiety, depression, violence, distrust. But I want to flip the chart and look on the other side instead and see that the remedy for all this is really love and living in service. And whatever you choose to do in life, ask yourself, how am I serving the greater me and the greater others with my talents, my virtues? Because we all come with this package, and it would be a big waste for life if you don't use your talents in service to building that world that we all want to live in. So taking our vision and intentions that we spoke a little bit in the beginning, and other visions and intentions you carry with you for your personal life, for you as a human being in this planet, in this time, because it was never so challenging and so rewarding to be alive. All the people alive in this planet now has the invitation, the clear invitation to make a difference. And never in all the human history, we needed to do that. But now we need, because now we know better. And we know that we need to step up for us and for the future generations. And that this is frightening, but this is also exciting, isn't it? Whoops. So from the future we want, we act coming from that place of love, because there is no way for us to create love in the world if we are coming from a place of fear, a place of distrust. Again, is the inner condition that will make us make the impact that we want and build the world that we want to live in. And this is very, I want to make a break here just for you to understand how mechanic this is. Because when we speak about love, it's so philosophical that we are like, yeah, we must love each other and hold hands and sing together and love and peace. And that's the world we want to live in. But when it comes to, okay, let's do it, we don't know how to do it. And our body is powered to do that. So we need to understand how we function in order to activate that, because that is our natural state. Anything else is made by man. It was created, it was learned. We learned within the systems we created. So we need to unlearn those systems or those beliefs in order to connect to that natural state of being. So if we care about the quality of our thoughts, because we can't control our thoughts, don't believe that your thoughts control you. You can control your thoughts and choose a better quality of thoughts. The thoughts will chemically and electrically activate hormones in your body that will feed your body with the love hormones, the positive hormones, the good feeling hormones. And then your whole system will operate from that place. But if you believe that your thoughts control yourself, and you are bombarded by the news, by everything that is coming, and evidences and science and all that is all around us, threatening our very existence, then the level of thoughts we will take in will activate chemically and electrically anxiety hormones, fear hormones, depression, and we will feel that in our bodies. And then the quality of our actions will come from that place. So trust, believe that you have the power to choose your thoughts and to live your life from that place of inner love, and influence the others, influence the environment, bringing love, bringing more of the bright side hemisphere, bringing more of the feminine to the world, because that is what really the world needs. Not more women, but more feminine archetype, more feminine way of looking at the other, looking at the systems, taking decisions, living collectively. That is what we really need with love and care. And with that, we are getting to the end of the U, the top of the U. We went into this big dive, downloading past patterns, seeing with fresh eyes, sensing from the field, letting go to let it come, connecting to the source, crystallizing our vision and intention, choosing better thoughts, and linking head, heart, and hands. Because it starts with our thoughts, but we cannot be playing around in our mind and not doing anything. And then we connect the head, the heart, and the hands, and go to the world, bringing our talents and making the impact and living the legacy that we are born to live. And I will close formally the presentation with this, that leaders of tomorrow are the ones who understand that success, like happiness cannot be pursued. It must happen, and it only happens as an unforeseen side effect of personal dedication to a cause greater than yourself. only living in service and bringing your talents, your love to a greater cause, you will have a successful and happy life. And I will stop sharing. And I want to, if you want, take the last minutes we have. We don't need to stay up to 10, of course. But just, I wanted to hear your thoughts. And if you don't mind, we can speak in Portuguese. Neste final. Talvez outros se sintam mais à vontade para compartilhar. E eu adoraria receber um presente de vocês. De ter um feedback de como foi a noite de hoje. Como vocês saem do workshop.
Eu só quero dizer que foi das palestras de hoje que eu gostei mais e que tocou bastante e que faz todo o sentido o que disse, desde o início até o fim.
Que lindo, Beatriz. Você está em Lisboa, Beatriz?
Estou.
E você está montando o seu consultório?
Ainda não, ainda são só ideias.
Perfeito. Então, conectando head, heart and hands.
Yeah.
E você está no caminho certo. Quem mais?
Bem, eu gostaria de dizer que não tinha expectativas deste workshop. Cheguei tarde até entrar e adorei o formato, o layout, o caminho que passou para depois explicar o processo e explicar onde estivemos e onde vamos, e foi inspiradora. Gostei muito e vou levar estas palavras não só para internamente, mas para as outras pessoas com quem vivo neste mundo. Sim, mas obrigado. Anja, obrigado.
Obrigada, Ron. Quero mais presentes. Não precisa ser só presente bom também, tá? Presente com amor. A gente sempre oferece um presente com amor. E a verdade também é uma forma de expressar o amor. Então, se você tinha uma expectativa que não foi atendida, eu gostaria muito também de ouvir. Porque é uma forma que eu tenho de melhorar.
Conseguem ouvir-me?
Estou!
Olá!
Olá!
Eu cheguei um bocadinho tarde, por isso não queria intervir antes, mas queria dizer que apanhei este bocadinho no fim e que foi muito positivo. Eu acho que precisamos também destes momentos de esperança coletiva que nos fazem avançar um bocadinho e continuar a tentar influenciar positivamente. Porque às vezes nas redes sociais, seja onde for, eu fico às vezes parva com os comentários, às vezes aquele ódio e aquela falta de compromisso para com estas causas, não é? As pessoas todos temos os nossos problemas e todos pensamos noutras... Temos outras coisas na cabeça. Mas acho que cada um de nós é um influencer também, não é?
Sim.
E então, se como a Beatriz conseguirmos influenciar só os nossos pais também hão de influenciar mais alguém. E, portanto, acho que isso também é muito importante e muito positivo tirarmos aqui desta nossa reunião. E acho que, acima de tudo, é isso. É uma esperança coletiva. Estamos aqui a alimentar a esperança uns aos outros.
Exatamente.
Muito obrigada.
Quem que estava falando que eu não consegui ver o nome?
Luísa.
Ah, Luísa. Muito obrigada, Luísa. É tão verdade isso. E assim... Tem uma frase que eu gosto muito, que eu não pus na apresentação, mas eu gosto muito. We are the ones we have been waiting for. É a gente, são os Planetiers, são nós, aqueles que já perceberam o que está acontecendo, porque as pessoas que estão nas redes sociais, vomitando as suas frustrações, a sua raiva, os seus medos, eles não sabem fazer melhor. É a maneira que eles têm de extravasar, de respirar, porque é realmente um pouco do que o Ron trouxe, e a mesma Beatriz falou, eu preciso de um pouco de esperança, porque a gente está se sentindo sufocado com o nível de pressão que nós impusemos a nós mesmos. E a gente precisa desse momento de esperança. Então, nós que entendemos o que está acontecendo, os Planetiers, que conseguimos olhar o lado positivo, entender que nós podemos influenciar, porque eles estão influenciando também negativamente. Então, nós temos uma força polarizada, que ainda está, este lado está ganhando. Estou falando do lado esquerdo só por ser. Mas esta força motriz, que é aquela força que vai criar a massa crítica, que vai gerar momentum e que vai trazê-los para junto de nós, vai trazer o nível de consciência que eles precisam para enxergar o que a gente enxergou, é que vai trazer o equilíbrio. Porque uma coisa que também tem acontecido, que eu queria falar, se vocês viram no começo da CIDES, a apresentação da CIDES, um pilar muito grande, muito forte para nós é de empoderamento feminino. E a gente vê muito nas empresas hoje que o arquétipo feminino é muito apreciado por todos, pelos homens e pelas mulheres. Porque o arquétipo masculino é aquele da imposição, da hierarquia, do mandar pelo poder, do controle. Ele vem deste lugar. O arquétipo feminino é o lado do cuidar, é o lado do amor, é o lado do compartilhar, é o lado do cuidar mesmo, né? Incluir, abraçar. E quando você consegue trazer esse arquétipo feminino para um ambiente de trabalho, de escola, de família, todos relaxam, todos baixam a guarda. Não tem necessidade de ficar se defendendo, se protegendo ou atacando o outro com medo que o outro te ataque, né? Porque o ataque, na verdade, é uma forma de defesa. Isso eu também queria trazer um pouquinho, eu fui muito sutil na apresentação, de trazer a questão do feminino, mas é uma coisa para a gente também colocar atenção e intenção. Como que cada ser humano pode trazer mais do seu arquétipo feminino para o mundo? Para trazer esse equilíbrio, para dissolver essa concentração de poder. E quando tiver disponível, também as gravações não vão estar disponíveis imediatamente, mas em algum momento vai estar, assistam o workshop do Seeds Cryptocurrency. Não sei se vocês já ouviram falar da criptomoeda Seeds. Aquele sistema é um sopro de esperança de que um mundo muito mais regenerativo, mais colaborativo, descentralizado é possível. E está vindo, e está aí. E é só a gente embarcar nessa. A Seeds for Sustainability está fazendo parceria com a Seeds Crypto e a gente está desenvolvendo um projeto juntos. E também está em parceria com Planetiers. Então, tudo que vai surgir depois, porque só falando um pouquinho do Planetiers New Generation, Planetiers World Gathering é só o topo da montanha. Debaixo desse topo existe um iceberg enorme, que é a Planetiers New Generation, que é um plano de 10 anos para acelerar o processo de Portugal rumo ao desenvolvimento sustentável. E que todos nós esperamos é que Portugal inspire muitos outros lugares nessa trajetória. Então, tem palestras maravilhosas, ainda muita coisa boa vai acontecer, de amanhã até o dia 23, e a gente convida vocês a estarem conectadas e acompanharem. Amanhã eu vou mediar vou fazer propaganda, tá? Vou mediar um workshop sobre esportes e parcerias, e nós vamos ter a Fundação do Futebol e a Santa Casa de Misericórdia. O workshop é amanhã às 14 horas, então estão todos convidados. E eu também vou mediar um painel no dia 22 sobre Leadership for Transformation. Nesse painel eu vou trazer 4 convidados maravilhosos, muito inspiradores, que vocês vão amar assistirem. O painel do Leadership for Transformation é no dia 22, às
14? Será às 14?
14 horas. Muito obrigada. Às 14. Bom, gente, agora era isso que eu queria compartilhar com vocês. Queria falar para vocês também que eu passei tão mal hoje. Eu comi alguma coisa que caiu atravessado no meu estômago, passei uma tarde horrível, mas eu estou saindo tão leve, tão feliz, tão...
Estás melhor?
Muito, muito, passou todo o mal-estar.
Depois explico-te como.
Quer explicar já? Já compartilha aí.
Eu fiz-te reiki enquanto estavas a fazer a formação.
Ai, meu amor, muito obrigada. De reikiana para reikiana. Muito obrigada. E queria agradecer o presente de vocês estarem aqui. Os que participaram, os que não conseguiram participar, mas que se fizeram presentes. E eu espero que todos nós saiamos mais ricos, mais esperançosos do que quando chegamos. E muito mais empoderados para fazer a mudança que a gente precisa fazer. Combinado? High five aqui, vocês duas que estão aqui no vídeo. Yes. Ron, high five para você também. Para a Luísa, para a Camille, está aqui. Olha, abre o microfone. E a câmera.
Oi, dá um oizinho. Oi.
Minha querida Camille. Então, vamos ver, eu vou nomear todos que estão aqui. A Camille, que vocês conheceram agora, a Beatriz, a Luísa, o Ron, a Sara e a Sônia. Muito obrigada por estarem aqui. Foi um prazer enorme passar essas 2 horas com vocês.